Coming up on the Making Waves VO podcast.
We didn't read a female VO, I think, for the longest time, and it wasn't until Magic Mike came out when we worked on that was the first time I heard a female voice. And it's like, yeah, why are we doing this? Like, it sounds fine. Like, no one died.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves. Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
Making waves.
This is the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell.
And here we are, the Making Waves VO podcast. Today's episode is going to be epic. It's going to be monumental. It's going to be a blockbuster. Ladies and gentlemen, we have movie trailer producer Alex Justinger with us. Alex, how are you?
Wow, that's an introduction. I'm good. I'm good. It's good to be up with you guys this morning, and we're still a little early for the West Coasters, so this is the perfect time for me, where I'm getting my coffee and kind of getting the juices flowing. So you hit me at the right time.
Oh, good. Hopefully, we'll leave you with a grin on your face.
Yeah, I hope so. P.S. The Making Waves VO podcast is presented by Full Compass, fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
And Bobby, Alex and I go back to like 2009, and the story of how Alex and I met was he found my website online, and he was producing car spots at the time and needed a new car voice. He found my website, and we've known each other ever since.
It's crazy.
I love that story because I'd been working in the Tier 3 automotive world for maybe 2 years at that point. It's starting to get fuzzy now. It's been so long, it feels like a different lifetime. But I will always remember the big wigs. Oh, we got the big client. It's New York. You know, we got to get the big voice. We got to get something special here. And at the time, we had just a small roster of people. We were in Birmingham, Alabama. And, it was just the same sort of dozen people in the roster. And everybody starts to sound the same after a while. And I remember casting a net out, trying to find somebody, and then your voice just came through. And I will still remember the website with the golden microphone on it, and I just thought, like, God, that voice matches the golden microphone, because something about it just like metallic, like a knife. It just cuts right through. And I've always felt that way about your voice. There's something about it that's so unique. It just cuts right through and grabs your attention. So when you're doing Tier 3 screamers, man, you nail it. So yeah.
That's funny. Well, Bobby, I'm going to let Bobby get into the questions here in just a second, but I want to kind of recap your story just a little bit because you went from producing automotive stuff for a couple of few years, and ever since I knew you, Alex, in 2009, your goal was to make movies. I knew that was your dream. And then, like 2 years after you and I working together, Kev, I'm moving to Hollywood, man. So long, suckers. I think you said so long, suckers. I think that's exactly what you said.
with two birds in the air as I flew down the highway.
Yes. But no, Alex was, he's like, I'm going to Hollywood, man. I'm going to make movies. I'm going to do my thing. And then I think the move, you got to, start towards the bottom. So you started editing, right? At film houses? Is that what happened? Was that the next step?
So to backtrack a little bit, I'll say this especially for future generations, if anybody might be listening that might be in where I was. We're growing up in a world that's much different now, where you have to be a bit of a Swiss Army knife. So if you want to make movies, well, you got to know how to edit, you got to know how to shoot, you got to know how to write, you got to know how to do all this stuff. And so, you go to Hollywood and there's specialized people that do those kind of things. But I grew up in a world where I felt like the competition is going to get even crazier, because we're now growing up in a world where you can edit at home, much like you can do VO at home and so forth. And so for me, it was all about, I just want to, make movies, but I want to also learn as much as I can. And so I was fortunate enough to actually get the job working on automotive advertising, because that was the best boot camp I ever had. Was, oh, the talent didn't show up. Make it work. Oh, it rained. I don't care. Make it look dry. Make it work. I got thrown into an audio booth. Never knew anything about audio. I had to learn on my own. And that became one of the most beneficial tools ever. So I'd taken all this knowledge with me that I had in Birmingham. And at the time, I'd, car market wasn't in a great place, lost my job. There was some politics at the place I was at. And so it was actually the best thing to happen for me because I lost my job. And that's when it became the big push to go to LA. And I will always say, to my wife's credit, she was the one that looked at me and said, I think you need to move to LA or else you're going to regret this, not making that move. And that was it. And we moved out there. I actually started out working on sets a lot because I thought I wanted to be on sets. And I do love being on sets. But man, 12 hours and that desert heat starts to wear on you. And if you're not a macho guy, and I am certainly not, you realize you don't really belong in that. And a lot of guys would pull me to the side and say, hey, man, you're a good kid. You got a lot of enthusiasm, but you don't belong here. You need to go try and find another lane in this industry. And so that's where I sort of found myself in movie marketing, just needed to pay the rent, went to work there. And
what was that first job you did, though, on set? What was your first job?
Oh, I was a PA. And being a PA on sets where you're dealing with a bunch of veteran people, it sucks. There's really nothing fun about it. You could be as dumb and love movies as much as I did. I often say to anybody who moves out to LA wanting to pursue this dream, like, watch the movie Ed Wood, because it's just an idiot who loves making movies, no matter how bad they are. He still goes to the set the next day exhausted. And that's what I was. I was just somebody who loved it so much. And I didn't care how bad my body was getting beaten up or just the abuse I was taking on set, which I say abuse in quotes. It's just a lot of yelling and all that.
A lot of disrespect and, stuff like that.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah. No, nobody wants you there. You don't know what you're doing. It just sucks. But I worked with a lot of great people who, steered me in the right way. They just saw the kind of kid I was. And they said, you're going to be 70 years old. Your body's going to be breaking apart. Don't do this. Go find something else that's going to be more beneficial for what you believe in or do. So yeah, I was working on music videos and Tropicana commercials and stuff. So it was all really cool, but I had to pay the rent. So I actually moved over to the film marketing side, which was great because I got to work with movies. I got to watch them be assembled, and it's amazing to watch a big feature film in the early stages because you get the dailies in and you just see shot by shot how they're built. And it really actually kind of changed how I looked at everything because I really realized at that time, I'm like, oh, this is that storytelling thing that everybody talks about. Oh, I want to be a great storyteller. And that began kind of the new path of like, I want to do this, but I also don't want to be an editor because while I did edit back in the day, I hated the blank canvas. I hated being stuck in a room with hours of footage and being told, all right, create. I liked being the guy that could say, hey, okay, I've looked at all this stuff. I've got an idea. What if we started here, put this thing there, but then the surprise happens when that happens, and then leaving that to somebody who could build that puzzle. And then I'd come back and I'd look at it. And it's like, oh, okay, that's great, but that didn't work like I thought it would. But I see what you did there. Let's move this thing over there. And so you just watch this evolution of something creatively happen. And now when you're a producer, you don't just sit there and focus on one project. You're focusing on sometimes a dozen projects at one time. And me being such an ADD person, it was the perfect job for me because I don't get hung up on something for terribly long. I look at something quickly, make quick decisions, move on, come back, move on, come back, and so forth. So long way of saying what I basically was doing was I started off working on sets as a PA, then moved over to the marketing side to pay the bills, and really found my way into producing and moving up from there. And truly, that's where the VO of it all kind of started because I worked with a guy named Richard Redfield, who I really considered the LA father, as I call him. He taught me so much, and he had such a passion for voiceover. And back in those days, I felt like we were doing 3 voiceover sessions a day. It felt like it was so constant. And I loved being in that booth with him and just watching him direct and his passion. And I really took a lot from that.
In the Making Waves VO podcast, we'll be right back.
Hello, this is Rebecca Lee. Psych, y'all, let me stop playing. It's me, Rebecca Lee. You're listening to the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin and Bobby.
Bobby, this is a great time of the year to save money on gear, is it not?
Well, we were talking about a 4th of July, or it was a Christmas in July sale. Of course.
Yes.
Sales are happening everywhere.
Absolutely. And what better way to save money than on gear at Full Compass, fullcompass.com. You go there, you do your shopping, you do your browsing, and then guess what? You enter a special code. If you call them on the phone, you tell them the code. But the code is
We know VO.
Exactly. You're going to get 10% off almost anything. There's a few exceptions, but almost anything that you buy right now through Full Compass, you're going to get 10% off when you present that code. Enter it at checkout or tell them on the phone. The offer is only good through July 31st, though.
And you get 10% off.
You get an extra 10% off when you put in the code We Know VO, all as one word. Now, it's on purchases, qualifying purchases. It's not valid on parts, cannot be combined with any other offer. Additional exclusions apply. There's a $1,000 maximum discount, limit 1 redemption per customer. Offer not valid on previous purchases. This is non-transferable, single-use promo code. Call 800-356-5844 for details. Void where prohibited. That's the legal speak.
And remember, it's We Know VO for 10% off almost everything that Full Compass and fullcompass.com have.
All one word. Go to fullcompass.com and shop to your heart's content and enter that code, and you should be good to go. Full Compass, fullcompass.com.
We Know VO. And now back to making waves. Well, first I got to ask. Were you 16 when you moved to LA? Because you sound like you're 25.
Well, I appreciate that. I turned 40 this summer, so there's that.
You're lucky to have one of those young voices.
That's why I can never shave, honestly. It's because I look like a 12-year-old. But I moved out there when it was 2010, so I was early 20s around that point, which I was always thankful that I didn't just jump right from college, because I don't think I would have had sort of the political office training and learning how to work with people. I think my skin would have been too thin, and learning how to deal with people that you don't always get along with or you don't really see eye to eye with, but learning how to actually work with them. I learned a lot of that here. And I don't always get along with a lot of the creatives in my area, and that's no disrespect to them. I feel like I think differently, and that doesn't tout my ego or anything like that, but I find myself in certain environments where I'm not gelling. But Southern California, I really just gelled. I clicked with people there, and I felt like it's all because we're these sort of broken pieces from other parts of the country, and we've all come to this one mecca to be creative together, and that's just where I thrived.
So how much did COVID affect trailer work for you?
Honestly, it was the best thing for me.
Really?
I hate to say that, because of what COVID has done really to our country in general, and kind of, I keep looking at, man, things are just so much better for COVID. But I had to leave Los Angeles in 2019 for family reasons. We had a kid, and you work in an industry that's a very jealous mistress of an industry, and we needed to be closer to family. So we moved back to the Southeast. I was trying to figure out what the next moves were, and I was out of work for almost 3 years. Just couldn't get a job in Atlanta. Nobody wanted to hire me, and I was just scrapping by. And then then the pandemic happens on top of that, and everything really turns into a mess. But once the industry kind of got back on its feet, before that, studios were always security, security, security. Everything had to be super secure. You pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to secure your agency. And all of a sudden it was, well, if it's not Star Wars or Marvel, we can make this work where people can work remotely. And so more and more people started to work remotely. And I also feel like the rising costs of rent in Los Angeles were pushing a lot of people out of the city. And so everybody just had to move quickly to get agencies back up and running. So people started working remotely. I got a call from a headhunter randomly after I thought my days in the industry were done. And a headhunter had said, hey, this agency has a has a need for someone like you, and I think you'd be perfect. And it was the dream agency that I had been wanting to work with since I started in this business in 2010. And so I had an opportunity to finally go work with the dream team, and it was the best thing because otherwise, nobody else would have taken me back unless I moved back to the West Coast.
And we're talking about MWA Trailers, right?
Yeah, MWA Trailers, formerly known as Mark Woolen Associates. I'm not quite sure the name changed, but yeah, MWA Trailers is what we are now. And these guys were. I remember 2010. I had. It was my first year into the trailer world. I was working at a company called Open Road Entertainment. And they now call themselves Open Road, but we were at the Key Art Awards, which is basically our version of the Oscars, at the Cinerama Dome. And I walk in, and that year, Mark Woolen had did the trailer for Social Network, which was like the game changer trailer of that time. People still talk about that trailer. But I remember sitting in that audience watching that trailer, and then also watching the trailer for Terrence Malick's Tree of Life. I'm a big Terrence Malick fan. And I thought, like, oh my God, those guys are doing the stuff that I want to do. Like they truly love movies. And if you watch their trailers, you just see the love of film in those cuts. And when you work in the industry out there, you find that not a lot of people share your enthusiasm for movies. People are over it. But I was one of the few guys who would legit every night after work, I'd be at the ArcLight catching a retro screening or a new movie. I'd be there every day. I tend to try and watch a film a day. But they were just like the big leagues. I never thought I could work with them. And so I just kind of kept my head down and stayed doing what I was doing. And I remember every week I would check their website to see what new thing they cut. And it's always artistic. It's beautiful. It's moving. And it was also during a great time in the 2010s where studios were putting a lot of money into drama. So you're getting movies like Shame, The Revenant, a lot of Wes Anderson stuff. It just go back and look at the 2010s. We actually had a pretty great year of movies. And then Marvel took over and everything went Marvel.
And MWA Trailers, some of their credits include Barbie, The Iron Claw, American Fiction, and in the promo world, promos for Ozark, just
wow.
on, on and on and on. So yeah, what Alex is talking about is this is the biggest of the big stuff. Full Swing, one of my favorite Netflix shows. I'm a golfer, so I love this show, Full Swing. And now, Alex, we're talking about your world now that you're in, and you've done the video editing, you've done the sound design, you've done, all of that kind of stuff, but you don't really get your hands dirty as much anymore, and that's what I call it. You kind of orchestrate things. I would say you're the conductor. Is that an accurate portrayal of your description?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very, very good way of putting it. What was that line from Steve Jobs? It's I don't know how to play the instruments, but I know how to conduct the orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love. I don't want to be the guy on stage accepting an award. I want to give that to the editor because they put their hard work into it. But I love also being that guy sitting behind the editor being like, oh man, that's a good edit. But hey, what if you put a riser there? Oh, yep, I'm feeling it now. Okay, put a stop down sound right there. Okay, that voiceover take, it's got a little heavy on this. Let's go back through. Oh, take 3. That's it. Put it there. And I love that collaboration. I think, my journey I thought was always going to be a director and direct movies. And while I still love that, and I still kind of go to bed thinking about that at night, I found out what I love more than anything is just the creative collaboration. It's working with people when you get them riled up and you feel that creative momentum going back and forth. Man, it's just like one of the most pleasurable things to me in the world. And to get just to watch also people who have a little spark of talent in them and they don't realize that they have it. And then watching that blossom as you push them a little bit, man, it's why I love this industry. And as many effort days as I have it, those are the days that keep me going.
You can really hear your passion for your work. I mean, it's awesome to have that. I saw that you were nominated for a One Voice Award for, I think it was a promo demo.
A trailer demo. Yeah, that blew my mind. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, it was a trailer demo. Okay, because it just said promo on the thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had hooked up with a guy named Ian Russell, super great guy.
Yeah, British guy.
Yeah, British guy. The British, I think he's called the British VO guy or something. Mm-hmm. The British voice. But Jack Daniel, who I'm sure you guys are aware of, he had connected us together. And so we knocked it out. I've got a way that I do demos I learned a lot from Richard Redfield, and I do a lot of demos with him as well. Yeah, I've just had my special method of doing it, and I've just gotten a lot of positive results. I think my favorite thing to always hear when I turn in the V1, which I send off with a lot of caution of, it still needs to be EQ'd, some things I'm hearing, but let's just start here and see what you think. And my favorite response is always, "Wow, it sounds like I'm on a movie." Uh, so yeah, I've had a lot of success with the demo world, and my thing too is that a lot of that comes, and I share the same philosophy with Richard. It's that, you know, yeah, I need to get paid to make it worth my while, because it's a lot of the time that goes into it. But, more than anything, I love doing this out of the passion of watching what you guys can do on the mic and directing you and making you guys sound the best you can. So you have this tool to take out into the world to try and sell yourselves. So when you guys start to open up and find yourself on what your voice is or what you're trying to say, man, I get the chills.
Hi, everyone. This is voice actor Karin Gilfrey, and you're listening to my awesome friends Kevin and Bobby on the amazing Making Waves VO podcast.
Let's talk about the voice and the voiceover in a trailer. Now, it used to be back in the day that the VO was what carried a trailer, but nowadays we're seeing that clips are telling the story, and then a lot of times it's just an end tag, rated R, starts this Friday, that kind of thing. What is the future of VO, Alex, in a trailer? Is it cyclical? Is it going to come back to more, VO generated or VO driven, or do you think this is the new norm?
It's hard to say because everything is changing so much. I mean, our industry is changing a lot. It used to be, when I started in 2010, you'd have, for a big summer movie. I remember Dark Knight Rises was the first big movie I ever got to work on. I was so fortunate to have that experience. But you start out with an announcement teaser. Then you'd have trailer 1, trailer 2, and then you might even have trailer 3. You'd have 15 TV spots, and then you'd have, cut downs and so forth. And so it felt like you were just, you'd work on a project for a year. And now a lot of times it's, okay, now we have a trailer and a TV spot, and then maybe a 15-second spot. And then we have a bunch of social stuff. So things are changing in the regulation of, it used to be you always had to have a tag and title read. And you do for broadcast, but for digital, that space is different. So, I think as things go more in the TikTok world and digital world, you're seeing budgets getting slashed because it's a cheaper way to market, and you don't have to have a voice on that. So now you don't have to pay a voice on top of that. And I'm not trying to be negative about everything, but I think for a lot of smaller films, because the box office is just not returning like it used to, you're seeing more digital marketing, but it's being sort of thought like, how can we, do this strategically and save money while also trying to get on the biggest megaphone we can, which is the TikTok world. And when you're on that world, voice is not so much the thing. You're captioning spots, even when the dialogue's, popping on, because people just want to scroll. So it's about trying to catch their attention. But I say that, and then I also think about, the creative for all this does evolve over time. And sometimes it goes back to original ideas or things that worked in the past. And in fact, just last week before the holiday, an agency called Rebel, oh God, I'm forgetting the guy, veteran trailer producer, a guy named Benedict, forgetting his last name, but he's been a guy who's been in it for a while, and he was been back in the 80s, and he did the original Beverly Hills Cop trailer. And so with the new Axel F movie coming out for Netflix, they actually pulled out Don LaFontaine's old VO and made it a retro 80s style trailer with the new movie. And I don't think I got the buzz that they had hoped for, with all due respect, but it got the word out there. They had an article on Deadline about it. And I think stuff like that will swing around every now and again, and you'll have like a great retro trailer with a VO on it, and it'll inspire people to be like, oh, we want to do it like that. And so I don't want to be doom and gloom about voiceover and marketing for movies, but I do think it's not what it was, but it could come around one day.
So it's really competitive as far as in our position. So what strengths does a voice talent need to compete in trailer work?
I think, as we all know, 70% of it's luck, 30% of it's talent, or I'm sure other people have different ratios, but I really do feel like sometimes I could have a list of 5 guys who I think is great, and I know number 1 is the best. Number 3 is not as good, but he's okay, and the client will go with number 3. Sometimes just no logic behind it. It's just what it is. But as I tell people a lot of times, do your research on the project. If you're reading for a horror film, frickin' look up the movie and see that it's a horror film. I had one movie that was a drama last year, and all it was a title and tag reading. It was the title. I'm just going to say Trophy rated R. I don't want to give away the title. So if the movie was called Trophy and the title and the rating was rated R, I would give you the direction. Okay, here's the title and tag. Read it with love. Trophy rated R. Something like that. But no one read the direction. Everybody read the rated R part and thought, oh, I guess this is a little darker. So Trophy rated R. I kept getting all those kind of reads. So immediately everybody started started killing off a lot of the auditions I got. One guy followed the direction, and that was the guy that got the campaign on that. And so I think it's sometimes as simple as that. It's read the direction, understand what you're reading for. If you have questions, reach out to the producer. If they don't respond, they don't respond. But you're showing effort that you care. And so there's that. I think there's also a thing about timing. If you get an audition call, try and return it back within the next hour or two. I have some people giving me auditions the following day, and I'm like, dude, that train's already passed. Like we've moved on. So yeah, our agency side moves very fast. So it's very big on trying to turn things around sooner than later.
The Notebook, rated R.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A little more gristle though. Yeah.
You don't want to miss what's next. Making Waves returns momentarily.
Surf's Up. It's the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell. This is voice actor and studio owner Christy Bowen, and they appreciate you listening.
Bobby, this is a hot time of the year, and it's always a great time to buy gear at Full Compass. And why is this why is it really good right now?
Well, we're excited about this. We have a special code for Making Waves listeners that you can get 10% off of almost anything at fullcompass.com. I mean, who doesn't love a sale? I know I do.
I know, and we were so excited. We got the email this morning from Full Compass, and they said, hey guys, we have a new code, and that code is Making Waves, all one word, Making Waves. Waves without the E, though, of course. It's a great time because there's a lot of VO coming up, right?
Oh, yeah. We did an episode about this on Making Waves, about what's happening this fall and what's happening up until the end of the year. So everybody's kind of doing updates and bettering their equipment. So if you want to find some great products, and they pretty much have it all, and you can get 10% off with Making Waves, the code, when you check out, do it. Do it.
Think about it. You could buy, a $500 microphone and you save $50. I mean, and then with that $50, you could buy some new cables. On and on and on. But I will tell you, it is a limited time only on the new code, Making Waves. And there are a few exclusions, Bobby.
Yeah, it is for a limited time on purchases of qualifying non-sale items, not valid on parts. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Additional exclusions apply. $1,000 maximum discount and limit one redemption per customer. So get it all at once. Offer not valid on previous purchases. Non-transferable single-use promo code. Call 800-356-5844 for details. Void where prohibited.
That code, one more time, is Making Waves. MAKINGWAVS. Making Waves. No E.
10% off from Full Compass and fullcompass.com.
We know VO. Now, back to the podcast. Oh my goodness. Alex, what is the most challenging aspect of producing a trailer?
It's for me, it's story-wise, I can look at something and pick it apart and tell you what lines need to go where. And I mean, that's the great thing is when you look at a movie, you break it down, you pull out all the great shots, all the great lines, and then your puzzle box is much smaller. And then you can start putting it together. For me, it's music. That's probably the hardest thing because music is just a vast ocean of you could do so much stuff, and you can literally spend hours to days to weeks just trying new songs over and over and over again. I worked on a Nicholas Sparks movie many years ago, about 10 years ago, and I think we went through about 30 different cuts with different music. We had the perfect song, the band didn't want to license it, and so we had to go in the great Q hunt because everybody loved that one song. And my God, we'd spend every day just freaking 5 new versions with different songs. And you really realize how vital music was to telling a
Yeah.
story or giving you a feeling. And
Sometimes they're just perfect.
yeah, I agree. I mean, go back to that Social Network trailer, using that child's choir version of Radiohead's "Creep" to a movie about Mark Zuckerberg. And when you watch those opening chords, and you see the shots of how the lyrics go to the Facebook profiles, to that piano music, man, you feel it. Even to this day, it does not feel like a dated trailer.
So I got to ask this question, being a female. You don't hear many females often as a trailer voice. Is that something you're seeing more? I remember when Rebecca Davis got a trailer job, and it was all over the voiceover social media because it was like, finally. But you think that's changing? And is it just for certain types of movies?
I think it's changing. I think our ears are still adjusting because, I grew up. Please don't shoot me. It's still weird to me sometimes to hear female voices on things, and it's just because I grew up obsessing over movies and hearing, the Ashton Smith kind of, or the Don LaFontaine kind of reads for so long, and I don't think it's wrong by any means to have a female talent. In fact, I encourage it, and we do read for it, but I still think generations are still getting used to this. But we didn't read a female VO, I think, for the longest time, and it wasn't until Magic Mike came out, when we worked on that was the first time I heard a female voice. And it's like, yeah, why are we doing this? Like, it sounds fine. Like, no one died. Let's, but I try and read females a lot more. I at least try and, read a few. If we have a campaign that we're working on, I try and throw a few in the bin. And I say a few too, because it's not prominent on a lot of places that I go that have a ton that they're touting. But, I think we've seen massive changes in talent and the desire to diversify talent in the wake of the Me Too's and the Black Lives Matter and a lot of social changing here. There's been more of a push to say, hey, let's get off our asses and actually like make a move here to do instead of just talk about it.
Sure.
So I'm trying to really, yes, I see a change coming, but I think we just got to keep getting out there and reading and showing that women are just as equal as men, if sometimes not better, or if not better, really. I wish I could say like it's a big change coming, but I feel like we just have to. We as humans are slow to evolve.
Yeah,
But the door is
it's
open.
Just gonna,
Yes, the door's open. Yes.
opportunities are being made.
We're going to get a nightmare session from Alex coming up in just a couple of minutes. But Alex, before we, get towards the end of this, let's talk about everything you do on a day-to-day basis. How does your day start? What have you got coming up later today that you have to address? Not specific projects, but I have to look at this clip. I got to look at that. I got to, listen to this sound. What is it?
So let's see. Today we're going to be jumping right into the fire. We've got, coming right after the 4th of July holiday. We're finishing a ton of stuff that, when the holidays come along, it's great to have a day off, but man, does it screw with our schedules. So we're finishing a bunch of stuff right now for clients. And then after I get through that, we have a very big movie that I will be putting together a presentation packet for. And then I've got cuts. I've got to hop on a Zoom call with one of our editors to go through and make my notes. The great thing is also when you work with great editors, your notes are much more minimal. The day is a big circle for me. It's a lot of call up one editor, look at their cut, great, give notes, move on to the next editor, give notes, move on to the next editor, give notes, come back to the first guy, give notes. So it's a lot of that. Client calls, watching movies, breaking down the movies, giving what we call selects, which is basically where you watch a film and you're like, oh, okay, I love these 5 shots. Let's get these 5 shots into this trailer or this TV spot. So sometimes you're literally in an Avid making selects and cutting shots and giving them to an editor to say, hey, find out how you can incorporate these. So it's a lot of different tasks. I'll be writing scripts, I'm sure, later this afternoon, watching another movie this afternoon. So it's a job that you're doing several different things, sometimes all at once, but I call it spinning the plates and just making sure that none are falling off the poles.
And the VO is one of the last things to come into play, right?
Yeah, it's the VO is one of those things for, at least on my end and working where I'm at now. We don't do a ton like we used to. Every now and again, we'll find ourselves in need of VO, and that's where I'll hit up the agents and cast a net out. I try and direct if I can and get on the horn if I can. But it comes in waves. Sometimes I will be doing, 6 different sessions within a week, and then 3 months could go by and I have not read a single VO guy. So it's very hit and miss. But I'll also say too that we're not an agency that's like works with a Disney or another a Fox, one of the same now. But some of those agencies that do that do a lot more VO these days than I do.
Is it all union work, and does a voice talent need to have a manager or an agent to do it?
Yeah, I'd say union work, yes. It's helpful to have an agent or a manager, because a lot of times, like when I get these sort of one-off emails from somebody, with all due respect, I know you're out there, you're hustling, you're trying to get out there, it kind of falls into a clutter thing. And even music libraries are the same way. You just get hit up constantly. And so when Bob from Minnesota hits you up, say, hey, here's my VO reel, I'll truthfully give it a 30-second listen. And if there's something there, then I'll kind of put it in my folder of VO people to pay attention to. If it sounds like a bad recording from a guy who's just starting out, it gets deleted. And with respect to that, like you gotta put your time in. You got to work your way up. You got to have a good quality demo, because we got to move fast. And I don't have time to give Bob from Minnesota a shot because it's going to get shot down immediately. The client's going to look at me and go like, who the hell is this guy? Why did you put this guy on it? I wanted the other guy.
Because that reflects on you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, why did you make that decision to waste my time to do that? And I hate that, because I too was that guy trying to get a shot at some point. So I think, or what I've learned from a lot of people I respect in the voiceover industry is that, sometimes you got to understand you're just not ready yet, and you got to go and work on it. Give it another year, train, work with people who know what they're doing, and then come back and try again. Get with an agency that works in this world, and they can help promote you. And sometimes I work with some great managers who really know how to push their new guy, and they will push.
Hi, this is Nazia Chaudhry. You're listening to the Making Waves VO podcast with Kevin and Bobby.
And speaking of that and working in it, and Alex, you've seen it along the way, but you've seen guys train at this for years before they get their quote unquote break, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that I've really witnessed, I guess, somebody working their way up, starting from like, I just bought a Yeti mic, and then 5 years later, they're all of a sudden, Gabe Kunda. But I remember talking to Gabe Kunda a long time ago when I was getting back in the industry, and because he was the new guy on the street and everybody loved him, super sweet guy, love that guy to death. But he told me about his story, that he just had a passion for this, wanted to do this, and had approached Jason Marks at some point, and Jason had heard him and said, you're good, but you go train for a year. And that's exactly what Gabe did. He didn't give up. He came back, and now Gabe is on everything you'll hear. He's like the new Don LaFontaine now. And so, I think that's the thing. It's like you got to have that passion and keep moving. You cannot give up, and you're going to have to deal with defeat almost on a daily basis, but don't let that burn you. You've got to just grit your teeth, put it aside, cry for 5 minutes, and then get right back up and go right to the next one.
I've reached out to Gabe twice to be on the podcast, and it shows you how busy he is.
He's a busy guy. Yeah, if he's not doing voiceover all the time, he's traveling with his a cappella group. He's always got something going on.
Well, Alex, we certainly appreciate your time, but before we wrap up, we wanted to get a nightmare session story from you. We voice actors have these sessions that couldn't have gone possibly more wrong. And from the producer side, I'm sure you've had, these kinds of nightmare session stories. Would you mind sharing one with us?
Nightmare Sessions!
Yeah, I thought about this, and it's funny. When I got into the more sort of the big leagues world, for lack of a better way of putting it, in the trailer industry, I've had intimidating sessions with voiceover talent, but everybody, it's been great. And so it's funny. It was when I was working in the smaller market, that's where the divas started to come out, and I worked when I started working in car commercials. I was working with a particular talent who would sleep in. So I would have to call this talent.
Whoa.
For a 9 a.m. session, I would have to call them. Hello. Hey, man, we're supposed to have a session now. Sorry, man, I slept in. And then they'd roll out of bed. So I'm now 15 minutes late. I've got now, a line of people who are behind me waiting for this voiceover because they can't move on making their spots until they've got it. So stress is already starting to curl in my belly, and I'm new at this at the same time. So now talent gets on, they're groggy, and they start looking at the script. Oh, this doesn't make any sense. Why would you say this? And they think they're freaking Orson Welles reading a pee commercial, and I'm like, dude, it's a car spot. Like, you're making more in this 5 minutes that you're going to read 3 scripts that I'm going to make all month. And so it oh man, it burned me so bad, and to the point that it made me never want to work with this talent again. And I think I continued to have to work with this talent and would have to have arguments with them on mini sessions, but we would always get the work done. And I put that out there to young VO guys or guys who are getting into the business that it's okay if you don't understand the direction, you can question it, but also don't be a diva. Like, no one likes that. No one needs that. The producer in the room might have had a typo on a script. Don't give them crap about that, because I guarantee you that they're juggling 800 other things and their eyes just weren't 100% that day. The audio guy, give him a break. Like I think we're all in this to do the best we can, and for someone to come in with an attitude and or a diva attitude, no, it sours the experience, and I think it halts creativity. And so I use that as a cautionary tale, because I will say I never want to work with that person again. And I think that person is a talented person.
Kevin, I told you to work on that, buddy.
Yeah, I know. My bad. I think I've gotten better, though. I think I set the alarm for this one, so you guys didn't have to call me. And the sad thing is I'm pretty sure I know who Alex is talking about. But that's the thing, and that's what I always tell people, that are just getting into this. Control what you can control, and number one, be a pro. Be a professional.
Yeah.
Be on time. Look at your script prior to the session. Just so many things you can control. You can't control if they want to direct you in a different way. You can, performance-wise, then you can control it. But man, don't be a dick. Don't be a dick.
Yeah. Don't. Yeah. That's it. Don't be a dick. That's it.
A bumper sticker. Don't be a dick.
No joke. The day that my child was born, I remember looking down at him in the eyes. And the moment you fall in love with your child, and I just said, my one mission is to don't be a dick, like as a father raising my child.
Oh, that's it. And Alex, I do have one more story, because I think Bobby will find this fascinating, because I know the story already. But Alex, would you share the story of the time where you, my man, had to break the glass and do an emergency voiceover yourself?
Oh, this is my favorite. So... thank you for bringing that up, because I forgot. Little back history. When I moved to Los Angeles, I was doing a lot of regional spots for beer festivals and concerts and stuff like that. And so I was hiring Kevin. He was big help and helping me get a voice on this stuff, and some other guys. And it was super helpful to just sort of pay the rent. So, but I kept the job going while I was working in Los Angeles, and this was an agency out in Birmingham, Alabama, that was hiring me for these things. And so the budgets weren't big, but excuse me, but it was some good extra cash flow. So getting a day job working in trailers, and I'm still doing these little side radio pieces. And they had hired me and they said, "Hey, we got this concert. There's no budget for it. We need it first thing tomorrow morning. Can you do it?" Yeah, sure. I'm on it. So day goes by. I get off super late at work, completely forget about this whole radio spot I've got to do. I get home, it's too late. All the VO guys are gone to bed. It's like midnight in Los Angeles, and I'm panicking and I don't know what the hell to do. And also on top of that, the creative director who I worked with, I remember one time we had we were working on a trailer or a TV spot or something, and we just need to get a quick voice on it. And I just kind of said like, "Oh, well, I can hop in the booth real quick and just do a quick temp VO." And the creative director looked at me and said, "Oh God, no." And so I was always immediately subconscious about my voice. So, anyways, stuck in this situation. I've got to get this radio spot done because the agency needs it first thing tomorrow, and you got to deliver. You always have to deliver the best you can. And so I thought, well, I guess no other situation, but I'm going to get on the mic and just record and filter the mess out of my voice. So get on there, filter it up, do the best I can, cut together the spot, send it off. I wake up the next morning. Send it off with sort of the caveat of like, hey, this guy was the best I could find. Did not want to acknowledge that it was me, but if it's so bad, we can find somebody else tomorrow with a little more time. So then I wake up the next morning, the East Coast or Central Coast emails had rolled in already, and I just get this response in all caps from the agency saying, "Use this guy on everything moving forward." Really? Yeah. So I suddenly found myself in the VO world doing a lot of these spots, and I call it the George Glass VO. If you guys remember the famous Brady Bunch episode where Jan creates the make-believe boyfriend named George Glass.
Yeah.
And so whenever they wanted radio spots, they would have to be like, "Hey, can you get that guy?" And I'd have to go, let me check and make sure he's available. And I could use it to buy extra time. But that was the greatest thing ever because my overhead was gone. It was all me now. Producing and voicing and everything. So that made me feel more confident getting into the voiceover game. I still like producing more, I think. Leave you guys. You guys are better readers at things.
That's a great story.
That's hilarious. You should start up a side VO career and have a stage name of George Glass.
George Glass.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Alex Justinger from MWA Trailers, thanks so much for your time today, man. It's been a blast.
Good luck on your One Voice Award, too.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys having me on. And I love this, that you guys have this, and I will continue to listen. This has been great.
And Alex has a thing, like he's so gracious and generous with his time into the industry, and he will allow people to reach out to him as long as you don't pester him. So Alex, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, say they were interested in having a trailer demo produced, how would they contact you? Email?
To find me on LinkedIn, that's probably the best way, and then we can kind of talk from there. A note to the pestering thing, and I think, I'll throw this out there to people who are also trying to get work, is that I once or twice a year, I'll go to Los Angeles and I'll work with Dave Walsh on a voiceover class. At the end of the class, I'll give everybody my cell phone number and say, "Hey, keep me updated. Let me know what you're finishing on." And that is a trusted circle of people there. But what I tell everybody is that, use this, don't abuse this. And I say that because I worked with a talent that I really liked a lot. I got this talent finishes on things, and we had a great working relationship. But the work started to slow down. But the VO talent just didn't take a hint of like, "Hey, I'm not working as much now." And every day was like, "What do you got for me? What do you got for me?" Oh, wow. 2 days later, "Hey, what do you got for me? Hey, I can hop on right now. What do you got?" And it's like, dude, I don't have scripts daily that I can use. You got to understand, like, this ebbs and flows a lot. And they didn't get the hint. And I finally just had to say, like, I'm stepping away from the industry. And I had to lie to this person to basically get them off my back. And I hate that because I like that person a lot. I don't think they're a bad person at all. But I think you've got to understand, just because you're sitting in your VO studio all day long waiting for scripts to roll in doesn't mean that we have scripts every day to give out or people to read. We have a dozen other tasks that we're handling as well. And VO is just part of the many tasks that we have to do.
Once again,
and I know for a fact he's not talking about me.
Yeah. I have a special delete folder for Kevin. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I do want to touch on one other thing, too. I do feel like I came off a bit negative on the female stuff. And I want to say, too, that, one thing I forgot to mention is that we have seen an evolution on female talent, with stuff like Ashoka. Is that it? Ahsoka, the Star Wars series. Marie Westbrook finished on that.
Oh, yeah.
So there's still stuff out there.
And Debbie Harada's finished on stuff.
That's Debbie Harada, the great Debbie Harada. I worked with her on the Oscar stuff when we did stuff for the Oscar campaign last year. So there's stuff out there, and I know Debbie Harada had another big finish recently. I can't remember where I heard her, but I don't want to. I really want women to get out there and get their voices heard and to audition, and I don't want to dissuade anyone from doing that because I do think change will come with time, and the more we hear women voices on stuff, the more like common it will be. So if you're on the mic out there and you're female and you're getting pummeled every day by not getting a chance, like keep at it, like for real. Change will come.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that.
Alex, you're a good guy for the industry, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you both so much for having me. This was great. I'd love to come back again.
Alex.
Take care.
Absolutely. Wasn't that fun, Bobby?
That was fun. Wow. You could tell how much he loves doing what he does. And, that's so important.
Yeah, he's been a movie geek his whole life. He's made his own little short films and he's done a bunch of stuff like that. He's always just been obsessed with movies and the storytelling, and he takes that into his movie trailer world of producing trailers. He loves telling those stories and he likes being slick and impactful. And that's what you've got to do in this world that we're in, because we have zero retention and we have, patience. We have no patience. So you've got to grab people immediately and tell a compelling story and make them want to see that movie.
Yeah, it's just like our voiceover world. Storytelling is it.
Yeah, 100%. Alex Justinger, great guy for the industry. And Bobby, we've got fun and surprises coming up on our next episode of the Making Waves VO podcast. It's such a surprise that even I don't even know.
We'll find out.
Yeah. We will have a great episode on the next Making Waves VO podcast, presented by Full Compass, fullcompass.com.
We know VO.
The Making Waves VO podcast is produced by K2 Media Productions with hosts Kevin Kilpatrick and Bobby Maxwell. Sound design and editing by Jason Traver. Production assistance by Lacey Deline. Publicity and social media by Shannon Scott and Silas Phillips. Be sure to subscribe to the Making Waves VO podcast on your favorite platform. For all episodes, merchandise, gear, and more, visit makingwavesvo.com. Until next time, I'm AJ McKay. Keep making waves.